It happened one day, when my mother and brother were coming home from his baseball game. I had already been under the stairs for what seemed like an eternity. I am still haunted by the sounds that filled the airwaves of the house that night. My father, screaming at the top of his lungs. My mum, crying out in anguish. My little brother whimpering. Then the silence. Then the cackling, maniacal laughter that turned into my father, screaming my name. I remember being so scared I couldn't even move. I stayed frozen, clutching onto the stuffed rabbit that my brother had forgotten from the last time we needed a hide. I was there from sundown until sunrise. I snapped out of my immobility when I heard the neighbour knocking at the door. He knew my father's dark side and was always looking out for us when he could. He must have let himself inside, because I could hear him immediately making a phone call. I stayed until I heard another voice calling my name. I finally crawled out, into the arms of a police officer. I watched as my father was put into a patrol car and taken far away. He was locked up in a psychiatric hospital. The event took place almost 12 years ago now. I hadn't spoken to my father since, nor would I ever again. He was deemed unfit for society, and would spend the rest of his days tranquilized in a padded room. The house had been left in the care of my aunt and uncle. They had been renting it out for the last 12 years, putting money away and paying off the mortgage in my name. Now that I was 18, the house would officially belong to me. I wasn't very keen on the idea of going back to my childhood slaughter home. In fact, the very thought turned my stomach. Against my better judgment, I made the move. It was hard at first, but after a couple months, I quite enjoyed having the house to myself. It wasn't all bad. I have amazing memories of my mum and little brother. I just focused on those, and eventually started to feel like home again. A terrible lightning storm had knocked the power out. I decided to head up to bed and call it a night. There was no way I was finishing the stupid show I was watching. With my flashlight in hand, I made my way to the stairs. As I did, I tripped over my own 2 feet. My flashlight rolled underneath the staircase. I dropped to all fours to reach under to get it. Albeit silly, I had a terribly hard time reaching inside. The hair on my neck was standing. Something was telling me to be afraid. I felt around for my flashlight and recoiled when I felt something soft. When I pulled it out and shined the light on it, the fright was washed away. A warmth came over me as I hugged my brother's rabbit tight once more. I brought it up with me to bed. The thunderstorm raged on as I fell deep asleep with a rabbit in hand. In the middle of the night, my cell phone shook me from my sleep. I answered to hear the same voice of the officer that I had to run to as a child.
Hello, Mike. This is Officer Travis McKenna. Sorry for calling so late at night. I am calling to inform you that your father has escaped from the psychiatric hospital earlier this evening. We are sending a squad car over to your house at this moment. We have no reason to believe you will be coming there. But just to be safe, lock your doors and stay inside until the officer arrives.
I thanked him and put my phone back on the charger. I basically sprinted downstairs and made sure the house was locked up tight. I never opened any windows, so those were always locked. Luckily, I had locked the front and back door as well. I went back up to my room and stood by the window. I gazed out into the thunderstorm, waiting to see the lights of the patrol car. With a flash of lightning, I saw a glimpse of the silhouette of somebody standing at the edge of the driveway. The figure disappeared before the next bolt tore through the sky. The sound of broken glass rang throughout the house, and the front door slowly creaked open. I started to hyperventilate. His footsteps could be heard climbing the stairs. Step, step, step. I could hear somebody giggling as the footsteps became louder. Step, step, step. They were right outside of the door. The giggling then became laughter. I could feel my heavy heartbeat pounding in my chest. The doorknob started to jiggle. The laughter became a cackle. My father screamed my name as he pounded on the door. I hadn't even realized that I'd crawled under my bed, with a death grip on my brother's soft little rabbit. The banging on the door got louder and louder, my father screaming frantically trying to get inside. Flashing red and blue lights lit up the room. The door swung open, and from under the bed, all I could see was his bare feet. He screamed my name again as he walked slowly towards the bed. I heard somebody yell freeze from the doorway. The feet of my father turned and attempted to dash towards the officer. He didn't get one step before two bangs shot through the air. My father hit the ground, blood flowing from a wound on his neck. His gaze locked mine. His hand reached for me as the light dimmed from his eyes. Still, I clutched my brother's rabbit.